Om Swami Saraswati Namaste. Namaste, everyone. And this evening, we're going to begin our discussion of the Swami Purana. And this is a collection of stories which tells the history and the context and the philosophy of what worship we're doing and why we're doing it. There's going to be a lot of interesting and fun information, and it's told in a really fun way. Let's start with the introduction on page 1. The stories of the Swami Purana comprise an anthology of the wisdom of the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal ideal of perfection, a treasure chest of the folklore of ancient India, and a modern-day application of these classical teachings. This collection represents a small bucket drawn from the immense ocean of spiritual wisdom. These stories originated from the Vedas and the Upanishads, were amplified in the Puranas, enhanced through the epics of Ramayana and Mahabharata, and explained in both the Srimad Bhagavat and the Devi Bhagavatam. They have been arranged into a chronology from the Satya beginning to the beginning of the Kali Yuga, and are tied together by a lineage of events from the disappearance of Sati, the wife of Shiva, and the destruction of the god of love, to the birth of the king Janamejai and the commencement of the age of darkness. That's this Kali Yuga. The stories are filled with many levels of meaning, and they are lots of fun. You will enjoy reading them aloud, acting out the parts, and sharing this heritage with your children and your friends. May God bless you with wisdom and peace, Srima and Swamiji. When was this written? It says here the first copyright was in 1994, so it's some time ago. So first of all, I want to talk, just before we start the story, let's just talk for a minute about the importance of understanding the context and the history so that we put the philosophy into a certain ideal, an understanding. We can see where these people were coming from when they told these stories and what their bob was, why are they telling us to worship in this way, and how are they telling us to be pure and be clear and it's so antithetical to our pop hip culture that we are experiencing right now. So maybe we should understand the context and the cultural significance of the proclamations that they're prescribing for us. And then we'll get more insight into the application of these mantras. Well, we started off our discussion of the Devi Gita with the story of Shiva and Vishnu and how they fought with the hala and the deadly poison, and then they remember that was the birth of Tarakasura. Well, let's start this discussion with the story of Shiva drinking the poison. Excuse me one moment. There was once a class of demons called Hala, the deadly poison which appeared at the churning of the milk ocean. And that was the poison which Shiva consumed in order to save existence from its deadly effects. The gods, including Shiva and Vishnu, fought with those demons for over 60,000 years. And remember, here we sit for meditation for 15 minutes and we get tired. At one point, the demons had conquered the three worlds and made the gods subservient, as has occurred on so many occasions. Every time the ego takes over, all the divinity becomes servants of the ego. Ultimately, Shiva came forward and drank off the poison, whereupon his neck turned blue, and that was the end of those demons. Well, Shiva and Vishnu both went back to their wives, boasting of their prowess in defeating their enemies, and their wives began to laugh at the egotistical chauvinism of their mates, and gave a gentle reminder that Shakti is the energy of all in everything, and that if anyone is deserving of praise for the victory, it is the wives who are made of Shakti. The husbands don't get any credit at all. Guys, the husbands don't get any credit at all. Just remember that. It's written in the scripture from the beginning of creation. Even though the wives were sitting at home, they reasoned, it was they who gave the energies to their husbands by which the victory was accomplished. The gentlemen took offense and became insulting to their wives, whereupon the goddesses left. To teach their husbands a lesson, don't fight. Guys, just to teach their husbands a lesson, in humility, they decided to become unmanifest, and that is exactly what they did. They sat in meditation and became imperceptible. Suddenly, the men felt themselves without energy, lusterless, without inspiration. And the entire task of creating, preserving, and transforming existence fell upon the shoulders of Brahma, who was the only one who had not antagonized his wife, and therefore had the capacity to do something. Because guys, anytime you antagonize your Shakti, you're going to be without Shakti. That's the moral of the story. Always seek a harmony. Don't antagonize your Shakti. Well, the sons of Brahma. Brahma had many sons. In fact, he is called Prajapati, the lord of all beings born. Narad came from his lap, Daksha came from his right thumb, and Daksha's wife Prasuti was born from his left thumb. And then came forth the four Kumars, Sanat, Sanaka, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, the four eternally youthful boys who taught the wisdom of the Vedas to the Rishis. They were eternally pure, crystal clear, and radiant. Brahma also gave birth to Vashishta, the wise one, and to Narad Muni. One day, Brahma got angry, and from the skull of his forehead came forth Rudra. And these were some of the more famous sons of Brahma. Each engaged in his respective course of action. Vashishta had the ability to teach wisdom. Actually, Vash means to establish, or to make sit, or to make reside, to control, like in Vashikara. And Ishta is the chosen ideal. Vashishta, who has controlled or who is established or is established in the chosen ideal, and he had the ability to teach wisdom. And the four Kumars taught the purity and clarity of the scriptures. Narad was the gadfly of all the worlds. He was always spreading gossip. Daksha, which means ability, the mind, the mental energy, sought to become the most powerful. Mind over matter. After spending some time creating, preserving, and transforming the universe by himself, Brahma began to grow weary. As he was busily engaged in his present efforts, he had no time to perform any spiritual practices for himself. And therefore he called his sons together to see if they couldn't find a way to help him. Hey guys, don't just sit there enjoying the life of bliss. See how you can help me. I gotta create, protect, and transform this whole universe. And you guys are just enjoying watching this old man working? It's a hard job to run this creation. He requested them to practice tapasya, spiritual austerities, in order to please the Divine Mother and to request her to once again manifest as the wives of both Shiva and Vishnu, and to return the energy they need to continue their functions. if we don't do tapasya, how's mother gonna come? And if mother doesn't come, then Shiva's not gonna get off his butt. And Vishnu's gonna sit there too, lying on the couch of infinity at the edge of the creation, just watching me do all the work. No fair. Everybody, go out and start doing tapasya. Brahma promised that whoever among his sons could convince the Divine Mother to take birth in his house would become the most powerful man in creation. And it's true. If you can convince the Divine Mother to come to your house, you are going to live with Shakti. You'll have that inspiration all the time. You'll have a root and a base and a home plate on which you get continual nourishment. Daksha's Boon. Well, all the sons went off to perform austerities and to propitiate the Divine Mother to make herself manifest in creation once again. Daksha went with the others to engage in spiritual discipline, and he became extremely inspired. I am ability, I have capacity, I have talent, I am Daksha, I am karma yogata, I am the efficiency. He wanted the power that his father had promised, and so he always gave a little bit extra. He was motivated by a selfish gain at the end, but still he did tapasya. He stood on one foot and raised his hands into the sky. He chanted mantras while sitting in snow and in the rain and in the sun. He never moved, never flinched, never swerved from this ceaseless, relentless vow of purifying austerities. For 100,000 years, he sat in meditation. That's better than my 15 minutes. Performing various severe austerities. He wanted the Divine Mother to manifest in creation again, and to marry Shiva to take the load from his father's shoulders. But most importantly, he wanted her to take birth in his house. Finally, the Divine Mother became pleased with those efforts and appeared before Daksha and the other meditating sadhus. And she told them that she was pleased with them and said, "Choose a boon." And Daksha immediately replied, "I want you to take birth in my house." And the goddess said, "All right, I will." Then the other brothers said, "We want you to become both the wife of Shiva and Vishnu again, and to give them the energy by which they can perform their functions of existence. Our Father grows tired of creating, preserving, and transforming the universe. So please give Shiva and Vishnu the Shaktis by which they can do their share." It's only fair. We've got to share the load. No lazy gold brickers gonna sit around this ashram. Somebody's got to share the load. The goddess said, "I grant you that boon. I shall take birth in Daksha's house and perform the austerities necessary to be accepted in marriage to Shiva. And my other manifestation will take birth from the milk ocean and marry with Vishnu. And this will come to fruition when everyone begins to chant my mantra, Hring." Now this is the story that we studied in the Devi Gita. You all recognize the story, but let's see how it continues. The churning the milk ocean. The Munis, the great wise people of creation, were extremely pleased with the boons they received and returned to their father to tell him. Then Brahma instructed the gods to churn the milk ocean in order to make the nectar of immortality. Everybody wants to drink the nectar of immortal bliss. Who wants to tolerate creation? Everybody wants to groove with it. It should be a blast. So therefore, let's all drink the nectar of immortal bliss. He told them to use Mount Meru as a churning rod and to enlist the aid of the Asuras, the people who always think of themselves, to churn the great milk ocean. With great efforts, they all brought the Mount Meru to the edge of the sea to use as a churning rod, but alas, if they dropped the mountain into the sea, all of the milk would splash away. And Vishnu came in his incarnation as a tortoise, a Kurma avatar, to achieve the purpose. He said, place the mountain on my back and I shall carry it into the sea, he instructed. This was done, and the great mountain floated out into the sea of consciousness on the back of the great tortoise, Kurma avatar. And then thereafter, Boshuki, the king of snakes, made himself into a rope. And the snake wrapped himself around the mountain while the gods moved to one end and the Asuras to the other end. They alternately began to pull, and the great mountain churned the infinite expanse of consciousness back and forth until its contents began to come out. The gods and Asuras churned the milk ocean from which came out Mahalakshmi, the Mool Prakriti. Remember, the Mool is the root, the base, the primary. Pra means before. Kri means becoming. Iti means this. The primary, what was before becoming this. Sarvasadya Mahalakshmi Triguna Parameshwari. She is first and foremost, and she embodies the three qualities of nature. The primordial matter from which all of creation is born. The gods raced forward to escort her to Vaikuntha, where Vishnu greeted her with great delight and gentlemanly grace. And then Vishnu was with his Shakti again. Well, Mohini tricks the Ashuras. Many other things came out from that ocean, all too numerous to mention. And then came Dhanvantar. He appeared holding a bowl filled with the nectar of immortality. He was shining radiantly with the wealth of realization. His radiance beamed in every direction. All the gods and Asuras raced to get the bowl, forgetting all propriety. They grabbed it from the deity's hands, and then a great fight ensued. Each wanted to be the first to drink the nectar. Asuras fought with Asuras. Gods fought with gods. At one point, the gods got hold of the bowl, but the Asuras stole it away. And because of the tremendous harassment they caused to one another, no one was able to drink. Then the Asuras got hold of the bowl, and the gods bewailed, "We're doomed! Now the Asuras will drink the nectar before us. Help us, Vishnu! Protect us! Come to our rescue! Please save us, O Lord!" Vishnu, who is always prepared to save devotees, took the form of Mohini. Moha means the ignorance of egotistical attachment. Mohini is she who seduces consciousness into the ignorance of egotistical attachment. This Mohini was beautiful beyond belief. Everyone who saw her immediately became absorbed in gazing at her incomparable beauty. And the fighting came to an abrupt halt. Mohini asked insolently, "What are you arguing about?" "We have obtained the bowl of the nectar of immortality produced from the churning of the ocean of pure consciousness. Who shall be the first to drink it?" came the reply from both the gods and the Asuras. "That's simple," replied Mohini. "I'll portion it out to you. There's no need to fight. I will serve you." You just sit in 2 rows. Now, the gods in one line and the Asuras in another line. And I will give each the portion to which he is due. Sure, Mohini, that's a wonderful idea. Here's the nectar, came the reply, the immediate reply from both the gods and Asuras. The gods gladly surrendered the bowl of nectar to Mohini. Forming their lines, they all sat up straight and tall. Okay, we're ready, Mohini. Mohini took the bowl of nectar and walked down the line of Asuras, giving each one a cup of wine. And then she walked down the line of gods and gave out the nectar while the Asuras looked on. Cheater! As she approached the end of the gods' line, some of the Asuras realized that Mohini was giving all of the nectar to the gods. Seeing that now the bowl was almost finished without any portion for the Asuras, they became upset. Rahu ran over to the gods' line and sat down and began to drink a portion of the nectar. Agni called out to Vishnu that Rahu was drinking, and Vishnu immediately threw his discus and cut off Rahu's head, and the nectar had reached as far as his throat, so just Rahu's head became immortal. The gods drank all of the nectar. The Asuras had been tricked. That Mohini is Vishnu's Maya, they exclaimed. Vishnu always helps the gods, the forces of unity. He never helps us Asuras, the forces of division. We were tricked, ripped off. The gods were extremely happy, but the Asuras went home disappointed. Daksha's daughters and Chandra's curse. Brahma's daughter Prasuti, remember that she came from the left thumb, and Daksha came from the right thumb, and so Brahma put his thumbs together. She became the wife of Daksha. And Prasuti gave birth to 50 daughters in their efforts to bring forth the Divine Mother. Can you imagine having 15 girls? 50 ladies in one household? Ouch! The first 27 daughters were married to Chandra, the moon. And Chandra told his 27 wives, I don't want any difficulties among you. I'm giving each one of you 13 degrees and 20 minutes of the heavens, and that will be your own region. So he made a house for each of them all around the sky. And these 27 portions of 13 degrees and 20 minutes make up the 360 degrees of the heavens. And Chandra the moon moves amongst his wives. Every month he circumambulates the heavens to visit them all. Kind of fun. These are the names of the 27 wives that were given to Chandra. Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini. We'll hear more about her later. Mrigashish, Andra, Purnavoshu, Pushya, Ashlesha, Mag, Purva Falguni, Uttara Falguni, Hashta, Chitra, Shwati, Svishaka, Anuradha, Jeshta, Mul, Purvashad, Uttarasad, Shravan, Punishta, Satra, Purva Bhadrapad, Uttara Bhadrapad, and Revati. These 27 nakshatras, 27 wives of Chandra, they became accustomed to waiting for their turn to share some time with their husband. And they gave him all their love and in every way cooperated with each other. But when Chandra got to Rohini's house, he stopped for a while and fell completely in love. All the other 26 wives started to complain and said, Hey Chandra, hey Moon, you're supposed to spend an equal amount of time with each of us. Why are you staying only with Rohini? Did you ever see the moon retrograde? And he just moves backwards, and then he stays in one place. And then he moves a little forward, and he moves backwards again. And he just stayed in Rohini's house. That tricky Chandra. Can you imagine that? And he just didn't want to leave. Why are you staying only with Rohini? Hey! Chandra replied, I will be with you in a little bit of time. Wait your turn. But Chandra didn't move. Then all the other ladies went home to their father, Daksha. And they said, Father, what kind of a husband did you give us? There he is, having a special relationship with Rohini, while he is ignoring the rest of us completely. Daksha went to Chandra, and he said, Chandra, you have 27 wives. You better treat those 27 wives equally. I'm warning you. And Chandra said, oh yes, Father, I will surely obey. But he didn't leave. He stayed there with Rohini longer. And all the wives became angry and went back to their father a second time and said, Father, he didn't leave. We are still waiting for our husband to come to us and for each of us to have our fair turn. What kind of a husband did you give us anyway? Daksha went back to Chandra and said, Chandra, I warned you. I told you you had better treat all of my daughters equally. You gave each of them 13 degrees and 20 minutes of the heavens. Now why aren't you traveling around to visit each of them in their turn? You are only staying and enjoying with Rohini. I curse you. Your body will wither away to nothing. Daksha threw some Ganga water which struck Chandra, and the moon began to shrink. Did you ever see the moon get smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappears? That's Daksha's curse. He got nervous as he started to get smaller and smaller and smaller. He thought, oh, what shall I do? I am shrinking away to nothing. He kept getting smaller and smaller until he thought, I must call on someone for help. And it had better be someone who will respond most quickly. Let me call on Shiva to help me. He started to recite the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Immediately, Shiva came and asked, Chandra, how did you get so small? It was Daksha's curse. You've got to help me, Shiva. You know I'm very devoted to you. You've got to save me. Shiva said, well, I can't withdraw the curse that Daksha gave to you. But I will give you a blessing if you do something for me. Chandra was desperate and said, what shall I do for you? You will become an ornament in my hair, and from there you will inspire pure devotion in the hearts of all devotees. So the moon, Chandra agreed to become an ornament in Shiva's hair. And Shiva will always wear the moon on his head, and the moon inspires devotion. Chandra said, certainly I will. Now save me. Hurry up before I disappear. And Shiva said, okay, 15 days of the month you will shrink, and 15 days of the month you will grow again. That's my blessing to you. And that's a lunar month. 15 days of the Shukla Paksha, he grows bigger and bigger and bigger until he becomes completely round. And then the Krishna Paksha, 15 days of the month, he becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until he disappears entirely. So that's what happened to the moon. When he grows to its fullest, it is the full moon, and then he begins to shrink again. But Chandra learned his lesson, and now he makes his regular pilgrimage around the heavens to visit all his wives in their turn. Daksha gave his next 13 daughters to Kashyap Muni. At 27 to Chandra, 13 to Kashyap. Kashyap is the father of creation, and the most famous of his 13 wives was Aditi. From Aditi, the 12 Adityas were born, the first 12 gods known in Vedic times. From the other wives of Kashyap came forth the other forms of life and creation. Then Daksha gave 10 more daughters to Dharma, and he said, Dharma, marry these 10 girls. Dharma married the 10 daughters of Daksha and established them in the 10 directions, whereupon he proudly proclaimed, my Shakti fills the universe. This universe is surrounded by the wives of Dharma in every direction. And those were the first 50 daughters of Daksha. Let's stop right here and see if there are any questions that people like to ask. Yes?
Swamiji, I have a question. This goes back to the story of Shiva and Shakti, Swamiji. If you look at the bodily functions,
yes,
we have some functions which are involuntary, like circulation and digestion.
Yes.
And some are voluntary, like moving our hand and speaking.
Yes.
Now, the story suggests that, and this relates to the voluntary actions relate to our free will. The story suggests that even our free will depends upon some power or Shakti that's more powerful than the free will. Would that be an accurate interpretation of the story?
Will is a Shakti. Will is a manifestation of Shakti. Icha, Kriya, and Jnana Shakti are the three forms of energy. Energy, when it manifests as a desire or a will to expand in a certain direction, a certain evolution or a certain vibrational frequency, it's going to move. And Kriya means it does something, it moves. And Jnana means we understand its movement, we can detect its movement, and we're not cognizant of its movement, and it moves according to a will, to a design which we understand, and that is the union of the threes. So, definitely when Shakti manifests, she both manifests in involuntary action and involuntary action. Both are manifestations of Shakti. It's not just one. But all movement, every vibration is a manifestation of Shakti. Without energy, there cannot exist an atom. Inside the atom, there's protons, neutrons, electrons, quarks, all revolving around this nucleus of an atom. There's this scientific basis for vibration within an atom. Without Shakti, there is no Shiva. Without energy, there is no consciousness. They are part and parcel of the one supreme divinity made manifest. And that's what our story tells us. Our story is telling us that as Shakti became imperceptible, what could they do? Shiva and Vishnu became jhana, completely ineffective, motionless, stubborn. All they could do was wait for Shakti to return. Even they couldn't pray for Shakti to return. Brahma had to send his sons. Thanks, Love and Kush. Thanks to Sam and Angel and all the other children of Brahma that go out and do austerities and pray for Shakti to come back and inspire our Shivas and inspire our Vishnus to protect this creation, to make effective action possible again. Ganesh, you had a question?
Dhanvantar brought forth the
Amrit.
The Amrit.
Yes.
And he is also medicine. He brought forth medicine,
Right?
and he is also said to be a face of Shiva.
Yes. So here now, Dhanvantara is the progenitor of all the healing herbs and medicines. Of all the healing herbs and medicines he brings forth, the nectar of immortal bliss is the most prominent and foremost of all the medicines, of all the Oshudhi, of all the Amrit that he can produce. So the first medicine that we want to consume as sadhus is the medicine which will give us the nectar of immortal bliss. That's the first disease that we want to cure. If we have to take one medicine in our lives, let it be the nectar of immortal bliss. And then we can take all the other sins. The things for my sins, the tetracycline and the tetramycin and the aristomycin and the all the sins that I've created. Then I can take the mycin medicine for all my sins. But before I sin completely and take the mycins, I will take the nectar of immortal bliss. That's the first medicine we should choose.
Question from Gauri from Philadelphia.
Namaste. Please ring the liberty bell for us, Gauri.
How is it possible for the ocean of consciousness to give forth both Mahalakshmi as well as poison?
The ocean of consciousness contains all the possibilities for all manifestation, both positive and negative. So here, Sarvas Adya Mahalakshmi, she came first and foremost out of all the possibilities that could be manifest. And one of the possibilities is the negative, which is the deadly poison, which even chokes the Ashuras. And only Shiva has the power to drink the poison. And then all of the divine aspects, so Uchaisravas, Kamadenu, the horse of wisdom and the cow which fulfills all desires, the Kalpavriksha, the tree which grants the fruit of everything that you could think of, positive and negative. So all of these possibilities are produced from the ocean of consciousness, the ocean of all possibilities that could come into manifestation.
Usha from Canada has a question.
Namaste, Usha Ma.
She's asking, Swamiji, like in some languages, the moon seems to be portrayed as male associated with Shiva and the sun as female, like Savitri.
The sun as female. No, not necessarily. Savitar is the sun, and Savitri is the daughter of Savitar, and so she is also associated with Gayatri. So the sun has both masculine and feminine aspects. We don't necessarily, generally we associate the sun with the masculine as the light of wisdom and the warmth of devotion. But sometimes she becomes the giver of wisdom, the wisdom of the three feminine forms, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati, Ichakriya Jnana Shakti, Sattva-raja Tamaguna, all the threes come in the manifestation of Gayatri, the feminine form.
Swamiji, question from Wendy from New Jersey.
Namaste, Wendy Ma.
Namaste, Swamiji. Chandra's wives and the story helps us understand the movement of the moon in the heavens. Dharma's wives help us understand the 10 directions. Can you please tell us a little more about Kashyap Muni's wives and what we are to understand from them?
Yes, Kashyap Muni's wives, of the 13, 3 of them were most prominent, and let's talk about them first. The first 3 were, Diti was the oldest, and she is the mother of duality. And as the mother of duality, she became the mother of the Asuras. Aditi is the mother of non-duality. And as the mother of non-duality, she became the mother of the Devas, the shining ones, the forces of union, and the forces of separation of individuality. Kotru, the third wife, became the mother of snakes and insects and other lower forms of life, birds and mammals that walk upon the earth. Now the other 10 wives, not much is written as to what they brought forth, because they're not prominent players in the genealogy. But they do come into the story because Daksha gave his 50 wives, or his 50 daughters as wives to the three, to Chandra, to Kashyap, and to Dharma. So in this way, the first 50 daughters were given in marriage while they were waiting for the birth of the Divine Mother. So that's how the creation, all the beings of creation came forth. They were all manifestations from these three of the wives.
Swamiji, even though Dharma's wives are established in all 10 directions, today we see so much adharma in all 10 directions.
Yes, it's unfortunate, but we don't pay too much attention to loving Dharma's wives. We have fallen prey to the children of Diti, the forces of duality. And we don't spend much time focusing in the 10 directions to see that Dharma is established in every direction. We are so caught up in the selfishness of me and mine and what I want, my personal desires, that we don't spend sufficient time or sufficient focus in looking in all 10 directions to see that Dharma is radiantly exhibited. And this is our fault. It's not the fault of the wives of Dharma. They are their blessing. It's we who are ignoring their blessings. But some sadhus sit down every morning, and when they're singing the Chandipat or they're singing the cosmic puja, they say, Om Aim Guti in the Om Ring Prachu in the Om Kling Daksha in the Om Chamunda Praticha in the Om Om Dichi Baya in the Om King Isandya in the Om Ring Bhakti in the Om Kling Direct in the Om Chamunda in the Om Viche Bhumia in the Om Ring Ring Kling Chamunda Viche, and we bow to the wives, to the energy, with all the mantras that we know, with all the devotion that we have, with all the capacity that we can generate. We acknowledge the presence of the Shakti of Dharma in every direction that we look, upon which we focus. And that's part of our puja, to acknowledge the presence of the energy of devotion of Dharma in every direction surrounding me. Hey, why should I have to take more of my sins? I don't need any more of my sins. I'm acknowledging the energy of Dharma in every direction which I look. So perhaps that will reduce the burden of my sins. And all those other antibiotics.
A question from Karen from Colorado.
Namaste, Karen. Namaste, Michael.
Swamiji, are Shiva and Shakti different vibrations, or are they aspects of the same vibration? Thank you.
Karen, Mom, they are aspects of the same vibration. They're two different names for the same vibration. And one name, it's just like when you look at the heads and the tails of a coin. They're not two different coins. They're just two different aspects or two different points of view of the same entity. Now, consciousness is infinite and without any manifestation. And when it's without any manifestation, we call it consciousness, but it's also energy. So it's also Shiva and it's Shakti. And even though it's devoid of manifestation, it's not devoid of existence. When it comes into manifestation, we can see the manifestation. The Shakti is manifest, and therefore it's Shiva Shakti on both sides, or all through. It's the classic example that people use is when you turn on the light switch, the electricity was in the line, but it wasn't devoid of existence. It was there. As soon as the light switch goes on, the light becomes illuminated, and then it's manifest. And that manifest energy we call Shakti because you can see it. And the capacity of recognition, of perceiving, of seeing that energy is called Shiva because there's a seer and a seen. And the seen is inherent within the seer. But it's in its potential state. It's not manifest. So here we have Shiva and Shakti as the same names for the unmanifest. The infinity of consciousness and the infinite consciousness capacity to manifest into a finite, perceivable form.
Swamiji, a question from Michael.
Yes, Michael. Namaste.
Swamiji, can you please explain how duality helps us to move forward in our quest for self-realization? Thank you.
Namaste, Michael. If there were no duality, there would be no forward, there would be no backward. There would be no capacity to move. So that presupposes that we are all static, established eternally in the one. And that happens in a time called the Mahapralaya, the total dissolution where all becomes dissolved into the one. Now when we are in manifestation, there's two. Because there's a Shiva and a Shakti. There's a perceiver and a perceived. There's a knower and the known. There is the perceiver and the object of perception, and now we're in duality, and here we are, the multitude of all of us. And therefore there's a forward and a backwards. And now we want to go forwards, because we're here. I can't say, okay, I wish I wasn't here, but I still am. I could say, I'm enjoying being here, and I'm loving being here, and I'm loving going there. So now, how do I get there? And with whom shall I make the journey? And these are the real questions that we want to ask. How do I go there? Well, the Rishi said, do tapasya, do sadhana, do spiritual disciplines, do austerities, recite the mantra, and you'll go into the mantra. Now, in order to do that, associate with pure beings who also recite the mantra. Be with the people who are doing this kind of a lifestyle. Get together for satsang and rejoice in the capacity to share our love for God and to move forward with inspiration. And so that's what we're doing.
Swamiji, a question from Kumari from Valley Hill.
Namaste, Kumari Ma.
To what extent are the stories in the Puranas attempts to explain principles and mechanisms in creation, and to what extent do they describe autonomous and eternal deities?
Oh, they're both going on at the same time, Kumari Ma. They are describing metaphysical phenomena. And they are describing spiritual truths which are eternal to and intrinsic to our pursuit. These stories are allegories, they're fun stories, they're beautiful, they're beautiful allegories of the odyssey of the soul. As well as being a tremendous inspiration. Gosh, if they did it for 100,000 years, why am I getting tired after 10 minutes? Why did my knees hurt after the second chapter of the Churning? Why can't let me give a little more? And this inspiration we're going to get again and again through these stories as we laugh and cry and sing and dance and rejoice with the gods and the goddesses and the kings and the sadhus and rishis. We're going to have a wonderful time with them as we search inside ourselves for how do I make this journey myself? Can I hang out with these guys? Would you allow me that privilege? To be one amongst you? Can I spend time even with a simplistic book like the Swami Purana that's just telling these stories? And then can I understand more deeply until, hey, yes, that feeling is awakening within me and it's taking birth and it's rising. Let me make the journey too. There are no prohibitions.
Swamiji, Usha is asking, I'm wondering, Swamiji, if you could speak about the symbol of the tortoise and Vishnu as the tortoise. It crops up in so many creation stories.
He sure does, and he is the support. And remember when Ram was marching off to Lanka, the snake Boshuki bit into the tortoise shell because of the weight of the marching army was creating so much weight on the earth that Boshuki was having trouble to support it. So the snake bit into the tortoise shell, and that's why in the shell of the tortoise is indelibly etched the entire saga of Ram's conquering Ravana. He wrote the entire Ramayana with his teeth in the tortoise shell. Now the tortoise supports, and it's Vishnu because he's the support of the earth. Vishnu is the support of the three worlds. He's the protector. So Vishnu becomes the tortoise supports the churning of the ocean. Now the infinite possibilities of consciousness have a capacity to manifest themselves because they have a substratum, they have a support. And now we have both the forces of individuality and the forces of unity pulling and churning this ocean of consciousness within all of us. And Vishnu is our substratum. In the individual, put Vishnu in the Muladhara, put him in the heel of the left foot, which is supporting them, the Muladhara chakra. Remember, the Sushumna comes all the way down through all the chakras. It comes out through the Muladhara and it goes into the heel of the left foot. Remember, that's the tortoise. You're sitting on the back of the tortoise. He's supporting you. Remember, he whose back is straight is the rishi of this hymn. He is the seer. So here the tortoise is supporting the Shushumna, and he's supporting the creation. He's supporting the churning of all the possibilities of the ocean of consciousness to become manifest. This is something about turtles.
Kumari has a follow-up question to Michael's question.
Yes, please.
Is there a difference in the unity before duality appears and the unity after proceeding through duality?
No. There is no difference. Shiva and Shakti are one and the same. The space inside the pot is just the same as the space outside the pot. Is there any difference? Space is space. There's no difference. So the unity, the space in unity, the consciousness in unity, the union between Shiva and Shakti in the unmanifest is the same as it is in the manifest. There is no difference. So these stories about the birth of the manifestation of Shakti and how Shiva is perceiving that Shakti are true for all time. When Shiva perceives nothing, there's infinite consciousness in harmony with its own self. That is the one in harmony with her own self. Hrim, Maya, Vedanta, the Maya of the unmanifest. When she manifests, she becomes Ring, the Maya of Tantra, the Maya of the mother in harmony with her creation, in union with her blessing, her children, and the creation praying to the mother. And then when the children grow up and get busy with other things, she becomes Ring, the Maya of illusion, which is the many looking to the many and forgetting all about the one. Sorry, I don't have time for God today. I'm otherwise busy with more important things. Sorry, God, you'll have to wait for my convenience. Please organize my life so I don't have anything more important, and I'll be the first one to come to you. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.